In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the specific variables within the scientific method. Now, there are 3 variables that scientists use in order to have an effective and valid experiment. These variables can be very confusing and easily mixed up. So we're going to try our best to see if we can make it easier for you to understand the differences between the 3 variables. The first variable is the independent variable. The independent variable is this part of the experiment that you are in charge of changing. If I give you an experiment where we want to see the effect of water, depending on the amount of water that we give a plant, or if we want to test the amount of fertilizer that we give a plant, these are the independent variables. We are choosing to give a plant a little bit of water, and we're going to choose another plant, the exact same type of plant, more water. And then we will determine which amount of water was better for the plant. Because we're controlling the amount of water we're giving the plant, this is the independent variable. If you wanted to do an experiment with the amount of fertilizer, again, if you're using a little bit of fertilizer or a lot of fertilizer, this is the independent variable. Whenever you are collecting data and you have to organize your data based off of your independent variable, scientists will show their information in a chart. The independent variable is always on the bottom, or the x-axis. In this case, the amount of fertilizer is the independent variable, and this is located on the bottom, the x-axis of the graph. The dependent variable is the outcome. This is the result of your independent variable. So if you chose your independent variable to be the amount of water, you're trying to determine how tall the plant grew. If you gave a plant a little bit of water, the dependent variable is it was short. If you gave the plant a lot of water, the dependent variable was the plant was taller. The height of the plant was the dependent variable. The same thing for the fertilizer. If you gave a little bit of fertilizer for the independent variable, the outcome or the result, the dependent variable, is the height of the plant, whether it was short or tall. Whenever you see the result in a graph, the dependent variable is always on the y-axis, on the left side of the graph. This is what you're trying to determine the outcome of your experiment. The third and probably the most important part that students overlook is the control variable. So what is the control? The control is the part of the experiments that you keep the same. This is the part that you do not change at all from each part of your experiment. So for example, we have an experiment with plants. We are not changing the type of plant that we use. Every time we add a little bit of water or more water, it is the same exact type of plant. The reason we keep this the same is because we want to know that the only thing changing our experiment is the amount of water. We don't know if the amount of water is changing the height of the plant if we keep changing the plant. Another control is the temperature. We want to make sure the temperature stays the same for the plant. We can put the plant in an environmental chamber to control that. We also want to make sure it gets the same amount of sunlight. Each plant will be put outside and get the same amount of sunlight, compared to one plant staying inside and one plant going outside. And another, but last but not least, control is the season. We're not going to do one part of the experiment in the fall and then another part of the experiment in the spring or summertime. We want to do the experiment during the entire time, the same season. So a quick review. The independent variable is the part that you change in the experiment. That goes on the bottom, the x-axis. The dependent variable is the outcome, and the control is the part that you keep the same. These are all important variables that you need to know in order to be successful in your experiment.